You just got to let it roll in, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
You got to let it roll in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Evan and Aaron Show presents the Red and the Blue Soccer Podcast. It is your boy Evan and your boy Aaron. Dude, it's like midsummer. Midsummer, man. And you know what? Here in Indiana, not a bad week so far. It was a little hot today. It's going to get a little hotter as we progress through the week, but that's okay by me because, you know, I kind of like hot weather. And so, how are you faring in this heat wave that we're in, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good because I just don't go outside. It seems to take good care of it. I played soccer last night indoor, but it does get hot in there. So it has been a little bit noticeable. I didn't go out much today because at said soccer game, I hurt myself pretty good last night.
Oh.
So today was devoted to a lot of time on the couch. Yeah.
We are men of certain ages, my friend. We are.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting that.
Yes,
Yep.
I'm trying to be diplomatic about things. But hey, let me show you some new swag that mi familia picked up for me.
Oh, a Chelsea pint
Yes,
glass. Very nice.
Isn't that nice?
Very nice.
That's very nice. So I was like,
Yes.
oh, so I had to preview it or premiere it on the show.
A chalice to drown your sorrows in.
Wow,
I
dude, we still
understand.
have 2 weeks to be. We have 2 weeks of being friends still.
I understand.
I'm just saying,
Can
we
be.
have 2 weeks. So
Yes.
anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. We
Yeah.
are so glad that you are here. We have several things to go over this week,
Mm-hmm.
even though technically, have we really don't have a short show anymore.
No.
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 Yes.
No.
Let's start off with the Women's Euro
Yes.
match of the tournament. In my opinion.
It really. I think just because of what was on the line for it and how both teams played. I just shout out to the Lionesses. And just a great fighting comeback. You know, I was talking with a friend of mine throughout the match. He's English, and we're kind of going back and forth, and basically, talking and the game really unfolded in the way that we thought it could. That England dominated, I thought, for large parts of the first half, but really didn't make the inroads they wanted, so they were getting frustrated. And Spain was doing a good job of countering, but also sort of counter-possessing at times as well. And they eventually got a goal. Really surprised a little bit. I mean, they were getting down that right flank pretty easily. Feel bad for Daly. She got skinned a number of times. But they just played some lax defense there. You can't let somebody just receive the ball at the top of the six, turn and shoot. But they, our question was, who's the David Beckham, who's the Wayne Rooney here, especially after, Ellen White and Fran Kirby. They're sort of the backbone of the team there. But I'll tell you who it was.
I was going to say,
young,
knock, knock, knock.
Yeah.
Tune?
And,
Stanway.
And
God,
well,
dude.
what I love is Alessia Russo came on, and then Ella Toone came on, and it was Russo. I got a new favorite. I'm gonna have to watch a lot more of the Man U women's games because wow, she's just a workhorse.
Okay.
And she won the ball and knocked it down for Ella Toone to score, and then just what a
That
phenomenal
strike,
way
dude.
to finish a match. I mean those are the kind of hits that the second it leaves your foot, you've scored a goal. You just there's no saving it. She ripped it, and what a finish.
I would challenge any Premier League player to strike a shot like Stanway struck. I mean, it was
clean.
perfect. Timing was beautiful. It was so powerful. I mean, I saw what was happening with the keeper. The keeper was shading left, and obviously I have a soft spot for keepers. I'd have done the same thing because I see someone attacking from the right wing. I'm shading over a little bit because I expect Stanway to pass it off. Stanway says, "Oh, pump brakes."
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let this one go. And she,
Wow.
it was one of the most, it was one of the most spectacular shots I have seen in a tournament uh, for
Well, and
a very long time.
huge credit goes to whoever was making the wide right run, because it occupied the defenders just long enough
Yep.
that they kept giving ground. They didn't want to step and get beat with that pass in behind, and whoever made that run did
Man.
just enough to occupy. And Stanway said, "Nope, I'm shaping to hit," and it caught them all off. You're right. The goalie had shaded a bit,
Yeah.
but I just don't know if you're saving it anyway. I mean, that ball had a lot of power,
It
and
was
it was arrowing toward
gorgeous.
that corner. So
Gorgeous.
hats
Absolutely
off.
gorgeous.
Real quick for everybody, that game I believe was on ESPN2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But you've got Germany, Austria tomorrow. No grudge there. Sweden, Belgium on Friday, and then France, Netherlands. Which honestly, I think I'm going to go ahead and say I think Germany probably beats Austria fairly easily. I mean, it's not going to be a walk in the park, but I do think it'll be like a comfortable 2-0, maybe 3-0 win. Sweden, Belgium could be a really, really interesting match, but man, that France, Netherlands may live up to or surpass what we saw today. Those are two really, really good teams. And despite Netherlands missing a couple players, now France is too. So it'll be interesting to see who for them steps up as well. So tune in, folks, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. To get your fix. This has just been awesome. I was lamenting, the World Cup not happening, and now my summer honestly has flown by watching some of these great women's tournaments. And the next topic, the big topic, Evan, the ladies.
Oh
just,
my goodness, dude!
In my opinion, marched to that title. Yes, they didn't win. By massive margins in a couple games, but I really felt they were the strongest team in that tournament. And what are your takeaways? I mean, they qualifies them for the World Cup and the Olympics, which is awesome. We saw a lot of players and we saw a lot of talent out there. How do you feel, and what are your big takeaways from watching that tournament?
Well, real quick, I wanted to go back and comment on the Women's African Cup of Nations, because there was a huge upset. Morocco in penalty kicks beat Nigeria. Now, Nigeria. Yeah. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah.
I'm not going for it right now.
But yeah, no, I mean, it was a huge upset. I mean, Nigeria was, obviously, but Morocco came through, and that was really good. Real quick, and that was in the semifinal. South Africa beat Zambia 1-0, and man, I just it's so good. So the match for third place, Nigeria, Zambia, Friday at 4. So I mean, once again, it doesn't matter where you look.
Yeah.
There is good soccer being played during this time frame.
I'm kind of glad it turned out that if there's one, and I may have said this before, but I think that if there's one saving or one redeeming quality to the Qatar World Cup being moved to our winter, is that it's not overshadowing these great women's tournaments. We've seen some fantastic football, and not fantastic football for women. We've seen some just great stuff. Sophia Smith's goal. I believe it was against either Haiti or Jamaica. I can't quite recall right now.
Jamaica.
I mean, she sombreros her defender, cuts in, and then hits a Trevella with the outside of her right foot and bends it around. Just one of the prettiest goals I've seen.
Yeah.
And then, look, a lot of people thought Alex Morgan was past it. And Alex Morgan had something to say.
There's
about
the lead
that.
in
More
for
importantly,
me. There it is.
More importantly, filled up she drank the tea at the last World Cup, and this time she drank some margaritas down in Monterey.
Yes, she did.
So
yes, she did, man.
Hats off to Alex Morgan. Big game, Morgan.
Yep. You passed it off to me, man. And here's what I got to say about the U.S. women's team. Okay, you know this, and anybody listening to us understands that when you practice with somebody, they get to know your tendencies, right? Mm-hmm. So, the Canadian goalkeeper Sheridan, her and Alex Morgan play for the same team. Mm-hmm. If you are a football fan, you cannot underplay or overplay the gravity of that situation because Sheridan, she absolutely knew Alex Morgan was going to go high and right, was going to go upper corner, high and right. Alex Morgan said, nope, sorry, I'm going to go low. And, she just, I mean, the nerves of steel that she has.
Yeah.
This team fought and fought and fought because here's the deal. What I get from this are two things. Number one, you can't underplay the fact that she outsmarted Sheridan this one time. That was a masterful play, and Sheridan played great. Like both keepers played wonderful for that match. But Alex Morgan, she got the best of her in that one. But the second thing is, a year ago in the Olympics, man, we got revenge. I mean, we got revenge for the loss, bro. We got revenge. There it is. Yes, drinking the margaritas. We got revenge on Canada. So I think that, looking back and checking that out and seeing how cool that is, World Cup, Olympics, that's awesome. Here's where I try to bring us back down to earth, and I want to get your opinion on this. You had mentioned, and I absolutely agree 100%, that the gap has closed on the United States. I think that people understand how we are going to play. They understand the type of game that we play. That doesn't mean that they're going to be able to stop us, but I do think that both in the Olympics and the World Cup especially, it will not be the steamroller that we're used to. Now I know that, I know last World Cup it was like, meh? But I think we win both. But I think it will be gripping. I think it'll be thrilling. I think we will have to scrap. I think we'll have to fight for this. And the problem for the rest of the world is that as we do this, the younger players are going to they're going to build metal. I mean, they're going to be able to say, okay, look, you remember World Cup 2024, right? You remember that. So the fact is that, we have got, I'm sorry, 24, right? Because Olympics is 23. No.
Nope. You got them backwards.
Cup's 23, Olympics 24. So 23, the younger players are going to be like, hey, listen, you remember this. You remember this struggle. They are going to, I see incredible things for Team USA. I do not think this is going to be an easy walk in the park for them. But I do think that they will handle it. If you understand what I'm saying there. What do you think?
I don't think it's been easy for them for quite some time. I think CONCACAF is a different story. And we're very, very much a powerhouse with only a handful of teams having been able to close that gap. But you look around that England team, the France team, the Netherlands team, the German team, even the Spanish team, there's a lot of quality there. And you don't sleep on Brazil, who's going to show up with their next generation that Marta implored to do so. But I do agree with you that they, I did say they have closed the gap. The rest of the world's closed the gap. They've got talent. But much like, we talk about with the men and how the U.S. and Japan and South Korea and some African nations have closed the gap as well. Brazil didn't stop. Argentina didn't stop. So the U.S. isn't stopping. We're bringing through this next generation. We don't rebuild. We just bring in the next generation.
That's it.
And you're looking at Sophia Smith. You're looking at Trinity Rodman. You're looking at
Purse.
And then you've still got these players, in the middle. Your Mewis sisters, Emily Sonnet. Sauerbrun's getting up there. Nair's getting up there.
Rose is getting up there, but she's still.
Pino,
they're all impactful.
But I think for as long as they're offering something, you keep inviting them, and then you make decisions. About all right, it's Mal Pugh's time. It's Midge Purse's time. It's whoever's time, because that's what they all fought for. Abby Wambach didn't give up the role to Alex Morgan. It was time to go, and it was time for the next generation, and that's what we see out of this U.S. team time and time again. And I think you're right; it will test them along the way. This was testing. They had to fight against Canada. They had to fight against Mexico. Those were two very, very tough games, and they're going to have to play those teams again and again over the next couple of years,
Yep.
and maybe run into them at these major tournaments. So I think the U.S. women's team is in very, very good hands moving forward. I like what Vlatko's been doing, and I think he's got a good headache. When is it time to say, hey, the 19, the 20-year-old, the 21-year-old, it's time to take the place of the 33-year-old. But Alex Morgan, she's going to have something to say about it.
Do you just get a sense that he is the right manager at the right time for this team? I think he's willing to make those decisions, and I think that he made those during CONCACAF.
Yeah.
He's given the younger players an opportunity to kind of blossom and bloom right in front of our eyes. So I appreciate that about him. I really do.
Absolutely, and I think the nature of this tournament and what it meant, I don't think they looked beyond it, but I think he did use it as an opportunity to begin introducing more of these players to the highest level and saying, you belong here, and because I don't think he would have brought them if he didn't have faith in them at this point. It's not like some of our men's teams in the past where we don't really, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have 22 truly international players, right?
Sure.
The women don't suffer from that. But you do have to make decisions about when to bring them through, and I think he's done a good job with that, and I'm really excited for them for the next two tournaments.
Well, it also seems like, Vlatko has also kind of galvanized the team. I mean, once again, I hate using that word because it's not like they weren't before. But I think that they enjoy playing for him, and I think that's a key. That is the key. Is that they enjoy playing for him.
We do know that there was some acrimony with Jill Ellis. We do know that there were some locker room tensions with Carly Lloyd and some of the other players that weren't so hip to the social issues and things like that. And that's understandable. I think we're in a new era of sports and what it means to be in the spotlight. And especially, this group of women, they mean a lot. They carry a lot of I think, social burden. And they have to manage it a certain way. And I can see how there would be some rifts, especially when it came to taking a knee and things of that nature. And I appreciate that. And, I think Carly has some fine points. But I think Vlatko had a little bit of work to do I don't think they were a broken locker room like, say, Manchester United was last season.
Right.
But I do think he probably had to come in and, they probably did some trust falls,
Man, that's a good way. That is a good way to put it. That really is.
They went on retreat. They stayed up late. They did trust falls during the day.
And ropes courses during the afternoon,
Huge pillow fight at night.
Oh, man. Okay, friends. That is our first segment of the show, and we have reached the halftime
have we?
of our show, my friend. Yeah. We're going a little early for halftime.
All right.
Here's I just feel it. I feel it's my job to keep us on track, man. Oh, now what is that, my friend?
So we tried something called Amarula, which is a brand name, but is like the most well-known. And there's a fruit in South Africa called the marula. It grows on the marula tree. And it is interesting because it looks like a citrus fruit, but it tastes almost like a berry fruit. This is very interesting. And also, I recommend everybody get on YouTube and look up marula drunk elephants, because they fall off the tree and then they ferment, and then elephants come along and eat a bunch of them and get like stupid stumbly drunk. It's hysterical.
Nice.
I'm not promoting drunkenness among animals, but they did it to themselves. Some of them have real problems. And it's true. So I thought I'd try out a different one. This is Cape Marula. If you want to sponsor the show, we'd love it. But otherwise,
there you go.
It's just a different brand of it, and I highly recommend you grab a bottle of this sometime.
Nice.
It's great by itself. It's terrific in coffee. Like, use it as a substitute for Bailey's. It's a very creamy liqueur.
Wow.
Yeah, I did an experiment. It does a pretty decent job as a stand-in in a White Russian. So you kind of get it's almost like a strawberry quick alcoholic beverage.
Oh, come on, man.
The best thing to do with this
Yeah.
is to pour it over ice cream.
Oh, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like
And then if you want to take it, you want to take this a super step further, pour this over ice cream. Stir it up so it melts a little bit, and then take your favorite cereal. I highly recommend Fruity Pebbles, and pour that in. Yeah. You're welcome, everyone. You're welcome.
That is next level stuff, Ron. Thank you, man. Wow. Well, I'm gonna try and get us a sponsor. My my halftime shot goes to Triton Brewery, man. They took care of me today, man. Yeah. I tell you, my 16-year-old drove out on the highway for the first time today and did a bang up. Well, not bang up job, but you know what I'm saying. She did. Yeah, there you go. Excellent. She did a great job. And while she was working, I holed up at Triton and did my research and all that good stuff. And they took great care of me. Love them. If you have a chance to get their loaded mac and cheese. Because holy cow, you will want a pillow and then lay down and take a nap afterwards. I mean, that's just how good it is. So,
which beverage did you have from them today?
So I had their blonde ale, which is Hometown Hero. That's what it's called, Hometown Hero, and it's just really good, light drinking for the summer, and it's just wonderful. I knew I had to be somewhat coherent when I came back to do this because I didn't want to let you down, man. Didn't want to let you down.
It's been a minute. So I don't know if it's necessarily there right now, but they typically have at least one beer on the nitro tap.
They did, and I don't know which one they had.
But one of the best to get is they have a beer called the Hatch Blower IPA. I believe it's the Hatch Blower IPA.
Okay.
And it has jalapeno, has a slight hint of jalapeno in it, and that on the nitro is wonderful. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend any of their beers, and especially
the Rail Splitter is wonderful. I like the Rail Splitter, but I've never heard of the Hatch Blower. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay,
check it out.
I'm gonna try that next.
Check it out. So awesome. We're just giving out, advice about how to drink here, folks. So enjoy yourselves. Evan, who's your halftime? Well, it was to Triton. So
yeah, it's Triton.
Here we go.
There you go.
Here we go.
Slanty.
Slancha.
Woo.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Local lads, global game, my friend.
It is. It reminds me in a very good way of Strawberry Quick.
Oh.
But it's
okay. I'm gonna have to get some.
It's not. I don't know how to say.
That's okay. Anyway, that's okay. That's okay.
It is time for
moving on.
Fuck off, so
there you go.
The Eric Ten Hag era has begun at Manchester United. Evan, have you had a chance to watch any of the displays? Are you familiar with who they've got? Can I give the rundown?
Yeah, no. I knew we were going to get into Chelsea and Man U tonight a little bit more. We have 2 weeks left. Eric Ten Hag, I think he's the guy. I like the way Man U looks. I know it's early. I know it's preseason. I get it, but when you can get Bruno.
When you can talk about Bruno.
when you can get him to embrace what's happening. I mean, as a veteran player, as the guy that should be captain, no matter what. If you can get him to embrace what's happening, which he has verbally come out and said, look, this is good the way the team's going as far as what Ten Hag's doing. Your locker room is going to be 1,000% better. I think that he is going to. He's already well respected, so I think that the players are starting to see his moves as benefiting not just the higher ups, but benefiting them. And I think that that's what's going to be huge. I want to hear your take on Man U. I've got my take on Chelsea, but let's start with Man U, man, because I think Eric Ten Hag's the guy. I do. I think he's the guy.
Well, I think what he's done so far is instill some discipline and some structure that didn't exist previously. And I think this, last year the conversation was, oh, these are spoiled players and they don't
Mm,
want to take instructions and this new generation, blah, 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 blah. And in
right.
reality, what we're seeing, if they can be taken at their word in their conversation, is that no, they actually wanted more structure. It wasn't there. And that probably is what led to cliques being allowed to form. And it goes to show you that, I think Ole as a manager did a lot of very good things. And I think all things being equal, I don't think it would have gotten any worse under him than it
Hmm.
did under Ralph Rangnick. But I think it exposed both of those guys as not really being as structured and disciplined with what they were doing. And I think if Ole had 10 more years of experience and a few titles under his
Hmm.
belt, he might be able to have the managerial style he did.
Sure.
Um, but
Sure.
he doesn't, and he didn't, and I think it hurt him at times. And he was
Hmm.
trying to be a nice coach and a friendly coach.
Yeah.
And again, we don't see him every day in practice, so I don't know. But I think what we're seeing right now is Ten Hag implementing some structure and being very clear that there's a plan, and he's got ideas and he's imparting those. He's telling the players what he wants them to be doing, and
Yeah.
I think it shows players want that. I think Bruno has wanted it, and they've brought in some players
Hmm.
that I think are gonna really help out. Tyrell Malacia and Lisandro Martinez.
Hmm.
He's already familiar with them. Both of them are playing at the national team level, respectively. And then that Ronaldo is still a bit of an issue. But Donny Van de Beek is back, and he's almost like a new player.
I was going
I
to
think
say he's reborn,
yeah,
reborn,
yeah,
dude.
I think he will be, and I think there's a lot to be excited about. The results thus far have been good. You can only take so
Hmm.
much away from it. I'm not going to get terribly
Right.
excited about the result against Liverpool because I think what it really showed was United had a couple extra weeks of fitness under
Hmm.
their belt, and
Hmm.
Liverpool didn't start, their strongest players. But what you really want to see is patterns of play developing, and you're seeing
Yes.
that. I think what's exciting is, um, you know, last year, Rashford and Martial were really, really disappointing for the team, and it took
Hmm.
Sancho a little bit of time to bed in. He finally did, and he seems to be building on that. But
Right.
Rashford and Martial both seem to be a little rejuvenated and excited, ready to go. I'm okay with both of them, staying and fighting for spots.
Well, don't you think that part of that is that players were catching up from the COVID years? I mean, I
Yeah.
think that, back to back to back to back to back like that, I think that, several players have commented on it and said, hey, look,
Hmm.
we're freaking tired.
Yeah.
And I think
I
getting back to a more regular thing, it will help.
I think any player that you looked at last year for Manchester United that was having a subpar year, be it Paul Pogba, Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes,
Hmm.
Marcus Rashford, I they played so much over the preceding couple of years
Hmm.
and had I think Pogba and Rashford showed it with their injuries, and I think Bruno and Maguire showed it with their play that
Yeah.
they just weren't up to it. They were struggling, and they've had a real off season. They've had a new manager come in and make it very clear what's expected of them, and
Hmm.
I think players want that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and definitely the COVID years and has to have had an impact. So getting this time will be awesome for them, I
Hmm.
think. And
Hmm.
and they're they're building relationships. You go on tour of the Far East like this. They're in Thailand and then Australia. Um,
Yeah.
that they're not out hanging out at parties and shit like that. They're not going out and checking out the nightlife in Melbourne. They're getting in and they're under scrutiny day in and day out. They're
Yeah.
basically practicing constantly and then doing media events. They're on display. But behind the scenes, these guys are all hanging out together, playing video games, playing ping pong, and getting, growing the bonds that
Right.
hopefully will overcome the type of shit that caused them problems last year.
Well, I think that, the more that they do this, especially Man U, the more they do this. Here's my prediction. Once again, and we're about to transition into the Chelsea portion of the show, but I really do think Man U, with this new momentum, and I know what you said. You're like, it's not going to be year one. It's not going to be year one. But I do think it's I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for them in year one of Ten Hag's reign, for them to finish top four. They've got the talent. You guys got the talent, man. And I'm telling you, with the right managerial skills behind them, dude, sky's the limit.
Well, I was just going through the roster, and it was evading me for a second. But honestly, I think one of the big stories is Christian Eriksen. I don't know how I forgot that, but him coming. I mean, first off, what an amazing story.
Yes.
Little over a year ago, this guy was laying on the field, and we're not sure if he was going to live through the game. And he left Inter because of the Italian rules. Goes to play for Brentford, where they just totally embrace him, and he plays incredibly well. Gets them to a good fit, keeps them up, I believe, and then now gets a dream move to Manchester United. I mean, he's 30 years old. He obviously had to pass a very rigorous, medical exam, or United wouldn't have taken him. So this is massive. Now we've got two real playmakers in Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. It'd be interesting to see what kind of relationship they have, what kind of space they each take up. I think Christian has a more well-rounded game, so he can probably play off, whereas Bruno's going to be, more central in his position.
Yes.
I know he does drift out wide. I don't mean it like that. I mean he plays a particular way, and I think Eriksen has a bit more to his game.
But they're complementary of each other.
I think
Don't
they
you
can
think?
be. I really do. I think they can be. It's going to be interesting to me how ultimately they line up. They've been persisting with the 4-2-3-1. I ultimately don't think that's what they're going to be in.
Okay.
The whole Frenkie de Jong saga that continues to kind of drag on, I'm inclined to just walk away from it. I think between Donny, McTominay, Fred, and then you throw James Garner in there. You throw maybe Hannibal. You throw maybe
I was going to say Hannibal,
Zidane
maybe
in there. I mean, Zidane is looking really interesting. Eric Ten Hag specifically said, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten more opportunities with the senior side. So it's going to be interesting, and he's fostering this competitive spirit. You bring in Tyrell Malacia, you've already got Luke Shaw and Telej, who are pretty good players themselves. You've got multiple center backs. Now you're bringing in Lisandro Martinez. He's saying nobody's position is safe. You've got to earn it, and you need to earn it with the way I want to play. Name means nothing. And it will be interesting to see what Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo does as well. So
that's right.
All in all, I'm excited. We're 2 weeks away. I think there's one or two more fixtures that they've got. I think they play Aston Villa in a few days in a friendly in Perth. And then back to England to get ready for their opening match against, I believe, Brighton and Hove at Old Trafford.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So
there you go.
Let's head over to the blue side of London.
Stamford.
Evan.
Yes.
Not as much movement and not as many games played yet.
Right.
I guess the first against Club America, they were supposed to play them again this evening, and they are under a rain delay as far as I can tell. Eastern Seaboard's not doing too good. It's probably hot as shit there too.
Oh, yeah. So they're not complaining.
They have made a couple nice moves. They did bring in Raheem Sterling, and they have brought in defender that's escaping me, Kalidou Koulibaly from, I believe, Lazio was where he was playing. So I think he's a pretty good direct replacement for Mr. Rudiger. What are your thoughts? Does Sterling supplant a certain American boy. And are you excited? Is Tuchel getting things done that you want to see get done?
I think so, my friend. I'm excited about what's happening with the team. Couple things. Number one, Conor Gallagher. I think he will definitely be part of the starting group. The kid's 22 years old. He's going to be playing midfield for us. I mean, he had a great year with Crystal Palace last year. So I think that he is a great addition to the force. And here's the other thing: as of 5 hours ago, my friend, Chelsea is close with a capital C, capital L, OSE to getting Jules Koundé from Sevilla. 60 million euros. 60 million euros. But what an incredible get he will be if all the sources that I'm checking are correct. Koundé will I'm excited because we're building a younger team. Koundé's 23, Gallagher's 22, and I love this. I love that we're bringing these young guys in so that guys like Sterling, guys like and I want to talk a little bit about my man Chilwell. He's only 25 years old, but to see him back out on the pitch, to see him contribute the way that he is. There is a calming force behind Ben Chilwell. You know how I feel about him, man. He's my guy. Next to Reece James, he and Reece James, man, I tell you, I will take them all day, every day. And I'm excited, dude. He looks like he's back in form. He looks like he's ready to go. Mason Mount had a nice goal against Club America, and that was the winner for us. So I'm excited, dude. I'm really excited. We have been flying, quote unquote, under the radar because we haven't been, doing the Lewandowskis and the Hollands and things like that. But the pieces that Tuchel is bringing together, I think covers up for a lot of the things that we were lacking last year. And for the departure, of not only Lukaku, but Rudiger too. I think that we have a style now that, that we're going to be able to compete a lot better, in my opinion. So, and also just at the very end, Saturday at 8, Chelsea versus Arsenal for the Florida Cup in Orlando, Florida, man, on ESPN Plus.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
So it'll be interesting to see what the clubs do. Like, are we going to show out, or are we going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It'll be interesting. I mean, they tend to have certain contractual obligations to bring some players, but I think it'll be an entertaining match. Again, you can't take a whole lot away from these things because the whole point is to get the legs back and to just get guys familiar with one another, and it makes them money.
Sure.
There's no other reason for them to be playing in Orlando, Florida, than it makes them a lot of money because they could.
It's the greatest place on earth.
They could just go to a park in London,
Right.
They could,
exactly.
meet us halfway. Like, well, we'll see you at Hyde Park. We'll play at the Northwest End, right? Losers walk. But what I would say, my observation about Chelsea is, I think it's as important as to who has and has not left the team as these two signings. I think they're two very good signings.
Yes.
Raheem Sterling apparently is determined to play for every other team other than the team he claims is his boyhood club, which is Manchester United. So he's just going to play for the other top 4, top 5, top 6 teams.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, I don't care. I don't want the guy on my team. I like him as a person. I don't love his game. He is a good player. I just have some quabbles with it. But what I will say is he makes Chelsea better. Koulibaly,
I would agree,
is an upgrade on Rudiger as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old he is, but I don't think I'm going to guess he's 26. I'm just going to throw that out there. Interns. Um,
Hang
but
on. Here we go.
I think it's a
Oh,
great,
wow. 31.
He's 31,
He is
so I'm a complete idiot.
31. No.
but I think you've still got 2 years. Yeah, I think you've
Yes.
got a couple 2-3 years out
Absolutely.
of the guy.
Yep.
He's been one of the best center backs around. He'll continue to be. I don't think he's going to have a bed in period. I think he's going to hit the ground running and be totally fine.
Absolutely.
With Lukaku leaving, if he doesn't want to be there, that's fine. I wish him well at Inter Milan. He even said it was a mistake to leave. So, it happens,
Yep.
I do think there's still a question mark as to where all the goals are going to come from.
Oh, absolutely.
Timo Werner just struggles to lead the line, but it might be interesting to see what happens if, Raheem Sterling comes in. Do you start playing? Maybe you start using Christian as a false nine. Maybe you play Raheem as a false nine. But I think the fact that Kai Havertz and Hakim Ziyech have not left
They're
are
still
very,
there,
very good
dude.
signs that and
Yes.
there don't seem to be any rumors swirling about anymore because it sounded like one or both could be off. Like it sounded honestly a while back. It sounded like Kai Havertz to Bayern Munich was almost a done deal. So
Well,
the
I
fact
think
that
that was
hasn't happened.
right, but that's
Go ahead.
contingent. I think that was contingent upon Lewandowski. I do.
Yeah, and
I
I
really do.
I can totally see that. So I think the fact that they're still there and they offer similar but different options. Raheem and Christian offer similar but different options. I'd say, and again, I'm with you. Conor Gallagher offers something along the lines of Conte's engine, but also something different.
Yes.
He's still he's a bit of an unpolished gem, but you don't question his work rate. He will weigh in with some goals. He will weigh in some tackles and passes. So the future's bright. It'll be a matter of how what does it look like on the field? What's the formation? Who are the players? How's it going to happen?
Yeah.
So
Well, I think that. Yeah, I think both, and I'm just going to say it. Tuchel and Ten Hag, I think they realize that player for player, there's only one Erling Haaland. There's only one Mo Salah. And so, we have to find
who plays for every national team.
Well, at least, it was still in Africa. There you go. But anyway, I think that Tuchel and Ten Hag are really realizing that, hey, we don't have to be City and we don't have to be Liverpool. We can have a different system. We can have a different, a different way to score goals, and it can still be just as effective if we had the right people in the right places.
Well, I think especially Ten Hag, with the way he has approached this, recognizes that historically Manchester United has an obligation to play a certain way, to be a certain team. And that's I'm not disparaging Chelsea, I'm just saying the way their history informs them, because I would say Chelsea were seen as an entertaining but not quite their club, very much a Tottenham kind of vibe at times. When I was really beginning to watch them, they had some terrific players, club legends. The little Zola, Vialli. Just so many tremendous players. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, but they never quite got there. They were vying, but never quite got there. And then Jose came along, and it was a completely different style, but trophies followed. And a big part of that was the former owner and how Roman went about things. And I think he said, I'm going to win, and I don't really care how. I don't care. We don't have to have the prettiest product. At the end of the day, I want trophies. And Jose said, aye, aye, Captain. But we've seen different teams. We've seen Chelsea be very entertaining. We've seen Chelsea be very entertaining under Jose. I mean, under Jose, they had one of the highest goal returns in one particular season.
Absolutely.
Conte turned them into a different team. All these guys turned them into different teams. And I don't think they felt an obligation to a particular historical style, which is probably freeing to a certain extent. But I
But
like
I
that
will.
Eric Ten Hag comes along and says, I do recognize that Manchester
Yes.
United has this history, and they deserve to
Yes.
be restored to it.
Yep. And I will say this is that historically, Man U has had that number 9. I mean, they've had that number 9. With Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, dude,
Yeah.
I think Chelsea just needs to find and needs to continue to evolve. And I think that's what Tuchel is doing. He's evolving the team with who he has and who he can get to be competitive and to compete for a trophy. Because right now, just being in top 4, okay, you've had this big cloud over you this last, season. It's gone now. So what are you going to do not to just be competitive, but to also compete for the trophy? You know
Sorry,
what I mean?
Bayern scored like 30 seconds into the second half here, and it's a really, really
Oh.
nice. It's a slipped header from the front post from Mula to Matthijs de Ligt, who was once linked with Chelsea for a
Hey,
little
there
bit,
you
but I
go.
do think
There you
he's
go.
going to stay now that you've gone for
Yep.
Koulibaly. I totally agree, and I think Chelsea have. I think if anything, if they've had any struggles, it's maybe to have gotten out from under the big personalities that were at the club over the last few years, who supposedly replaces John Terry, who replaces Eden Hazard, who replaces
Yeah.
Petr Cech, and in
Yeah.
reality, you get new players and you don't replace them. You begin to
You
play a
don't.
new style and
You
new
you can't.
characters come
Yeah.
along.
You can't
And
replace a Didier Drogba. You can't
Lukaku
replace.
unfortunately did
Yeah.
not become that character, but I
No.
think Havertz is becoming that kind of guy. He's getting a bit of swag to his game. Conte has been that guy, as quiet
my
and,
God.
and charming and smiley face as the guy is. You know exactly what you're getting in the
Yep.
style that he brings to the game. So
Yep.
I think more and more of these guys are stepping up. Pulisic is obviously going to want to stake his claim. Sterling's going to want to as well.
Sure.
So in Tuchel, guys seem to enjoy playing for him.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
seem to respond to him. So I think both of us have managers that are laying the groundwork for some success. I think we have a little bit further to go, but I do
agree.
think you're right. We could challenge for the top 4. I don't think we're
Yep.
challenging for a trophy, but I do think we should be getting back to the Champions League.
Champions
So
League, man. There you
hopefully
go.
both our clubs are in with a shout, and we're not just
Yep.
playing catch up to City and Liverpool again. So,
That's right.
well,
So,
and
ladies and
in
gentlemen,
2
we're
weeks
going to.
we'll be getting to that kind of stuff. I guarantee.
Yeah. We're going to be taking an off ramp to Qatar for a few minutes to talk about good old Group H. Aaron, I want you to go first. And Group
Alrighty.
H consists of Portugal, Guyana, like Gahandi, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. What are your predictions for this? And you brought it up in the promo, my friend. Is this the true group of death?
Well, in researching this one today, what's really interesting is that all of these are, on their day, very good teams.
Sure.
But all of them have kind of had struggles in recent moments. And all of them seem to be fairly reliant on one or two big game players. I do think that it is a type of group of death. I don't see any of these teams winning the World Cup. I do see these teams potentially causing problems, but I think ultimately they're just going to cause problems for one another. I think this is going to be a hell of a dogfight for all 4 of these teams just to get out because
Sure.
of the weird matchups they present to one another. I'm not ever going to rule out Cristiano Ronaldo for as long as he straps on his boots and walks out onto a soccer field. The guy
Not at
is
all.
a gamer.
Yep.
But more importantly, you've got Diogo Jota, Bruno Fernandes, Joao Cancelo. Guys who are contributing at an incredibly high level for their clubs. Then you move over to Uruguay. You've got Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani, who are still Luis Suarez is going to end up somewhere. Cavani's going to end up somewhere.
Yeah,
They're going to play.
absolutely.
They're going to be ready to go. Darwin Nunez is ready to contribute as well. We'll see how he does for Liverpool. But Ghana, they've also struggled, but they are going to bring their game. They've done well at every World Cup for the last decade or so. And then finally, first off, they've got Partey and Amarty, who, while not quite as big gamers as those other names, you see how, this is the anniversary of Ghana going out on, a late penalties to Uruguay in the 2010 World Cup, which would have made them the first African semifinalists of all time. So if you don't think they remember that, you're fooling yourself. And then you've got South Korea with
Son.
Son Heung-min and a coterie of other players who are pretty damn good. So these teams are going to, South Korea knocked off Germany last time, right?
Mm-hmm. In
So
2018.
We've got some interesting matchups here. I'm going to say that. Let's go to the big board.
Okay.
Hold on, let's share again.
Oh, man. You're going to put me on the spot. I don't want to see my picks. Are you going to share? You're going to share it, aren't you?
I'm going to
Oh,
share.
man.
Screen
Just
share.
like a good preschooler.
All right,
You're sharing.
so
that's awesome.
I'm going to say that Portugal wins the group. And I'm going to say South Korea does what they did last time. I think they're going to come together. I think Son is going to be at the peak of his powers and is really going to be a leader on that team. Evan, go.
My friend, I'm telling you, once again, we are on the same wavelength. I love Uruguay. I love them. I love Suarez, even though he likes to bite people. I love Ghana.
It's his last
Ghana.
go round. He may take a big bite. Ooh, DC United scored. Game on.
Hey, there you go. I love Ghana, but I just think, the American philosopher Ric Flair said, to be the best, you got to beat the best. Whoa! And I think Cristiano Ronaldo, once again, it doesn't matter. Like, he could be wearing, and I'm going to say it, dude, he could be wearing a Wankers jersey and just be absolutely outstanding. And I think that Portugal gets through. I think they have so many different players that have such a depth of experience that it's going to be hard for them. And Son is, if you are a fan of the Premier League and have watched it for the last 2 to 3 years, you will see his progression and development as being not, Harry Kane's Robin, but being literally, right there with him in production, goal scoring, creation. The kid has it all. I mean, he's got it all. I just think that South Korea finds a way with his boot to get through. So I'm going Portugal. I'm going Portugal, South Korea as well, my friend.
Awesome.
It'll be and here's what I'm saying is that this, in my opinion, is truly if you want to have a group of death, this is the group of death right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in a lot of ways I agree with you because I think, of course. Oh, there we go. I think that's really what it means is how much they're going to beat each other up along the way. Not necessarily that they're going to, win the whole thing.
Right.
But ultimately, I think that causes it it makes other teams look around and pause, like, oh, if they can do that to one another, what can they do? And I think, again, these teams just pose match-up problems for each other. And will, look, Brazil's probably going to win the group, so they play South Korea. That's an interesting game.
That will be.
Serbia or Switzerland playing against Portugal.
Oh.
I mean, that's talk about a stylistic clusterfuck. I mean, Serbia is going to be, very, very direct. Switzerland's got a bit more style to them, but against a Portugal, who again will be deferring a bit to an aging Ronaldo. Will he be old enough and smart enough to control his minutes, to control how he contributes to the game? I mean, he's obviously important. You got to have him, but there's a ton of top level Portuguese players that are going to be contributing, and maybe it's time to bring him off the bench. He's going to score the winner anyway. Might as well come off the bench to do it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So,
that's right, man.
That's that's our take. So
that's it.
I think we will. We'll bust this out the week before the World Cup begins.
Yes.
And see if we've got any changes, because I tell you, between now and then, some of these teams may, momentum may be good, may be bad, may have some injuries, some guys missing. I mean, look, knock on wood, but if I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not gonna jinx anybody.
Don't do it. Don't do it, man.
if Mo Salah gets hurt playing for Japan, you just never know what's gonna happen. That might weaken them. So we'll revisit this the week before.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm just so glad Mo Salah plays for US. I'm just so happy.
You know what? Talk about a secret weapon to bring off the bench.
Mo Salah. There you go.
Who's coming?
Anyway.
Christian Pulisic is down injured. Who are they bringing on to replace him? It's Mo Salah.
No, it's Harry Maguire coming from the midfield.
It's Mo Salah in a wig.
Oh my God.
It's Mo Salah in a Brandy Chastain bra.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the part of the show that I adore the most. It is the Hey Aaron segment of our show. And I have an interesting question for you, my friend, and I'm wondering if you can get through this pretty quickly, because we are a little over on our show time. But that's okay. That's okay. It's our show. We can go for as long as we want to. But here it is, my friend. Hey, Aaron.
Hold on.
Oh. You done messed up, Aaron. I love this. Oh my God, I love this. Well, why didn't you say something when I said?
Why didn't you do it, man?
Why didn't you do it, man?
Stop sharing.
Anyway,
The
Hey Aaron.
Ron segment.
Hey Aaron segment. What player from the top 6 teams in the Premier League, okay? What player should we be focused on in those teams? So these teams are Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, and Man U. What players will make or break these teams in 2022-23 season?
All right. Man City is up first. They finished first. Clearly a top team, and clearly going to be vying for the title again. Probably still hoping for that damn Champions League. But they are going to be in the mix. And as tempting as it would be to say Erling Haaland, because he's the new blockbuster signing, I'm going to say Erling Haaland, because the question mark is really, is he going to be able to adjust to the league? And he has demonstrated a little bit of a propensity to get injured. And this is a physical league. We've already seen it with Christian Pulisic. We've seen it with a lot of players.
Sure.
That it's a difficult league to adjust to, especially for guys who are fast and invite challenges. That said, I don't know if anyone has ever looked more ready for the top level. I mean, the guy is such a physical specimen.
Kid's
you
21 years old.
Cristiano Ronaldo, Erling Haaland looks much the same way. He's just absolutely chiseled. Hopefully they're working on, ankle strength, soft tissue stuff, working to get him in peak physical condition. But I tell you what, I said it before, if Cristiano Ronaldo had gone to Manchester City last year, he just scored 40-some goals. Erling Haaland might score 40-some goals. They create so much, and he has a ridiculous nose for being in the right place at the right time, and he's about as complete at his age as you can ask for out of a striker. Left foot, right foot, header. He can beat you off the dribble. He can shoot. He can score on the doorstep. He can score from long range. He is the package. So they're going to be good if he hits the ground and does what he is truly capable of, and then maybe even elevates beyond that. This might not even be a discussion. Yep. He might be World Player of the Year.
Liverpool.
To me, this is an easy one. I think they've got plenty of talent. Don't think they've done a good job of bringing in other players who are going to help out some of their big names. And I begrudgingly give Jordan Henderson credit and feel like he has turned into a very good captain, but I don't think he's irreplaceable. But I do think that Virgil van Dijk is showing signs of slowing down a little bit. And I feel like 2 years ago, Liverpool were pretty good, but didn't have Virgil van Dijk around, and it wasn't enough to win him the league. 3 years ago, my bad, when he was injured. Right?
Yep.
And of course, knee injury, what have you. But he's also getting up there. And I feel like if he gets injuries or just begins to struggle with the pace of the game, I think it will cause problems for Liverpool, because I don't think they have coverage there. And what they've tended to do is shift players around. And when you start moving guys around, yes, it's great to have a little bit of, variability and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you want your best 11 players playing in their best and favorite positions. And if Virgil van Dijk can't go, Liverpool's going to struggle.
Chelsea.
And by struggle, I mean probably not finish first. They're still going to be good, but he's a bedrock. And we see what happens when that type of player gets moved out for whatever reason, and there isn't a ready-made replacement.
Yep. Let's go to Stamford Bridge. Chelsea. I love the pause. That's awesome.
Wow. I think this is a make or break season for Timo Werner. And if he can finally get firing, if having all these, the attacking players available now behind Timo Werner, who's really the only true striker.
Sure.
Although other guys score goals, but he's the only nominal striker as far as I can tell. Might be time to bring time to rue the decision to get Tammy Abraham to Roma.
Bring Tammy.
But yeah, hashtag bring Tammy home.
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling, Christian Pulisic, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech. That's an incredible amount of talent going forward. Can Timo Werner, can he score 20 goals? If Timo Werner can score 20 goals, Chelsea can vie for a title.
Wow.
If Timo Werner doesn't score 20 goals, I think it's going to feel a lot like last year. Almost there. Very good team, and might be built more for tournaments, cups, than they are for the Premier League. Because if you don't have a 20-goal-a-year striker, it's hard to platoon that. And maybe you do have the players. Maybe Ziyech weighs in with 12. Maybe Pulisic weighs in with 8. Maybe, all these guys weigh in with enough goals to make up for not having a true number 9.
Yeah.
So I think it's a make or break season for him, because if he can't do it, then there's no reason to keep the guy around. He needs to go to where he can score.
The Hotspurs of Tottenham.
Well, while he's there, you got to say Harry Kane. I love Son. Um, can Harry Kane stay healthy? Because the partnership that those two have built up, they've brought in these other players that fit in nicely around them. If Harry Kane can stay healthy, if he can play the majority of the season, and again score 20 goals and be a part of another, if he can assist another 10, and him and Son create that partnership and together are responsible for 50 goals, then yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think Conte's got him playing in a good way. They got to move some players on that just clearly haven't bought in. But if Harry Kane stays healthy, they're going to challenge for the top four again. If he doesn't, they don't stand a chance.
The Gunners of Arsenal, my friend.
Again, staying up front. Gabriel Jesus might be one of the buys. Manchester City's already good. So bringing in Holland just makes them that much stronger.
Yeah.
But Arsenal have been missing. They've been missing a true deadly striker. And Jesus was, obviously second choice to Aguero for a long time at City.
Sure.
Can he be the man, or is he going to be another Aubameyang? Got the money, maybe not all that interested in scoring goals. Brazilians can go either way. But if he can score again, if he can put 20 goals in, Arsenal could be back. They've got plenty of talent. Arteta, they've stuck with Arteta, and I will give their leadership credit, because they've stuck with Arteta at a time when other teams clearly didn't stick with Ole or didn't stick with Frank. Didn't stick with certain guys. And you know what? Maybe in the long run that's correct for those teams, but Arteta has them near, and the players seem to be responding to him. They've got good youth. They've got good balance. If Jesus has a stellar season, proves he's that number 9, there you go.
Yep. Last but not least, my friend, the Red Devils of Manchester United.
There's interesting competition at the back right now. But Erik ten Hag has chosen to stick with Harry Maguire as the captain of the team. And I think we've yet to see exactly how Ten Hag wants to play. I think we're seeing glimpses of it. But I think what happens with Harry Maguire, and I mean this in a different way than I mean everybody else that I've mentioned thus far, what happens with Harry Maguire might be very indicative of what happens for Manchester United overall. If very, very quickly it's clear that Harry Maguire is not a starting center back, and he's okay with that, and it's and leads from the side in the way Gary Neville did toward the end when he wasn't able to play as much. And again, that was more for injury than ability. But Harry Maguire doesn't suck. He had a bad year. He had a very, very bad year. But so did the whole team. But if one of two things could happen. Can he regain the form and confidence that he had previously and be one of the better center? I mean, this guy was voted, player of the one of the players of the tournament, in the team of the tournament in the last World Cup. He doesn't suck.
No.
But he's protected and playing in a different system than Manchester United use. Now, if he's a problem, continue some of the locker room bullshit, then, decisions will need to be made. I could see Ten Hag saying, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see that happen. But I think it'll be really important to see how that all gets handled. Because there's now competition for these places. And maybe he is, maybe he isn't good enough. I'm not one of those fans that is just going to hate on the guy.
Right.
But resolving that issue, either in a good way or a bad way, is going to tell us a lot about what happens next with Manchester United and how players respond to it.
Nice. Very nice, man. Just off the cuff question real quick, and just one word answer. Surprise team of the year in the Premier League. Surprise team of the year.
Crystal Palace.
Oh, okay.
I think
Okay.
Vieira is getting him moving in the right direction, and there's some talent there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Zaha is getting to a point where he needs to justify some things. He's been a
Yep.
tremendous player for him, but I think they've had other young guys coming through that are contributing. They're gonna miss
Yeah.
Conor Gallagher,
Yes.
but they've still got a lot of talent, and Vieira I think has really been demonstrating some positive moves with them. So then that's the kind of club that maybe a key veteran signing or taking a chance on a youngster from abroad and putting them
Oh,
in the
yeah.
spotlight, a la
Yeah.
Chicharito or something like that, could pay dividends.
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Hey Aaron segment of the Red and the Blue Soccer Chat, which brings us to the end of the show. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And it brings us to the final segment of the show, where Aaron gets to send us out with his final thoughts. My friend, it's been a pleasure, especially with my new Chelsea swag and all that good stuff. But my man, what you got for us?
Man, this is a tough one because I was thinking about this earlier, and I try to be positive. I don't want to be a downer, but we were here 2 weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago we were talking about shooting at a school. And 2 weeks later, there have been other shootings since then. But we have one close to home. And more than just close to home, my grandniece was there. Was working in the Dick's Sporting Goods with the food court just outside it. Her father brought her brother and sister to have lunch with her the day before.
Oh my goodness.
So it's always hit home, but this hits home. And I feel a lot of emotions. I feel sad. I feel sad for the loss of life. I feel sad that somebody felt the need to go to that level. I feel sad that we don't do anything to address it. I feel sad for my grandniece in particular, that she has to grow up and experience this, that's afraid to go to school. I'm angry. I'm angry that we don't do anything about it when there are some very obvious, simple things that could be done. I'm angry that this person resorted to this. I'm angry that this will get politicized by everybody, by both sides. And then I watched the other news, and I watched polar ice caps melting. I watched wildfires across Europe, wildfires across the United States. And I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find that connection. Struggling to find some sort of line through it all that can make it better. And as silly as it sounds, football does that for us sometimes. Sports does it for us sometimes. Sports, maybe it's just a distraction, but it's something we can invest our heart and soul in. And we've gotten to see the best of some great women performers this summer. And we're excited to see the men's game as the leagues kick off. And we're excited for a World Cup that shouldn't be where it is and kind of reinforces some of the other negative bullshit that I let in with. It's sad. So all I can say is find your joy where you find your joy. Find connections where you can find connections. And hopefully that little bit of connectivity and love will help us through this. Because it kind of always has. I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm hopefully saying, if you feel sad, come hang out with Evan and I at a soccer game, and I bet you have a laugh, bet you have a beer, I bet you feel better for a few good minutes. And maybe in the worst of times, that's all you can hope for. There's still a war in Ukraine, and those people are still fighting like hell. to just live. So if you can hear my voice, we love you. Come share a beer with us. If you don't drink, come share a Coca-Cola with us. And we'll show you a good time. We'll hang out. Yep. And hopefully we all come together for a little bit and feel better about the world, because it's a tough place sometimes.
There you go.
Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry to be Grandpa Aaron here for a second. But
hit that
we
theme
appreciate
music,
you.
great brother.
In 2 weeks, we will be back with a preseason prediction rundown of all the teams, where we think they're going to finish, who's important, who's got game, who's definitely getting relegated. Hopefully we will have a special guest that you've all met before to give us a huge rundown of the women's game and everything that we've seen this summer, because by then the Euros will be over. And he's also sadly a Chelsea fan, so there's that. He'll be weighing in. No, we love him. So guys, join us in a couple weeks. Appreciate you tuning in as ever. If you are listening to us not live on any other platform, please still like, subscribe, comment, give us your feedback. Tell Aaron to stop being so downy at the end of the damn show. Or if you want to sponsor us, that's a great way to reach out to us.
Hey, there you go.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. There it is.
This has been the Red and Blue Soccer Chat by the Evan and Aaron Show. That's my buddy Evan. I'm Aaron. We do love you. And folks, have a wonderful Wednesday night or whatever night you're listening to this. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Hashtag Black People Vote.
Hashtag Saga.
Love you, man.
Love you too, bro.